Hey guys, it's Clay from Clear Critique. It's obvious that the Academy really doesn't like horror films. I don't know if such movies aren't being submitted to them enough, or if the genre has some kind of trashy stigma attached to it. But by essentially ignoring them, the Academy has created a mindset that your horror film, no matter how good, shouldn't even try for a trophy. And that's just stupid, especially considering the rise of more artfully presented horror in the past decade. So with that, I want to talk about 10 horror films that were snubbed of Oscar nominations. A couple clarifications: I'm not including any films that I can't dub horror with confidence, nor films nominated for any Oscars at all. Be sure to check out my other horror-related videos, as well as my upcoming Volume 6 of 6 horror films that are actually scary. Let's do it! Well, let's get the obvious one out of the way, one so obvious it may as well be mandatory, and that's Toni Collette's acting in Hereditary. This was honestly baffling. It's a fearless performance that rises to every heavy challenge the script threw at the actress. When she cries, she bawls, and you can imagine how sore her throat will be. When she's angry, her eyes flare with rage, and not once does it go over the top. These acting choices fit the character's tragic situation. One quick bit comes to mind, and that's when the actress stares into fire, and you know she's slipping in a possessed state. Some mix of demonic satisfaction and euphoria, and it feels real, like you're watching someone lose their soul on screen. Sorry, Lady Gaga was not as good as this. This is powerhouse acting, and its snub will go down in history as one of the sloppiest missteps from the Academy, somewhere between Saving Private Ryan losing and hiring a human joint as half a host. Next is Under the Skin, which should have been nominated for Best Director. To me, good directing is all about decisions, which I know sounds stupid, like, duh, all work is about decisions, but the directorial choices can change everything about a film. How to work around a tight budget, how to make a scene pop in a way the screenplay didn't contain, and how to keep the atmosphere consistent. I say all of this because Under the Skin is a great example of a director making bold decisions that all work for the betterment of the tone. In the settings that are meant to look alien, like literally alien, the film focuses on emptiness, both in visuals and sound. This makes the aliens more mysterious and also unsettling, because we can only guess how certain things function. When the alien tries to seduce men in order to capture them, it becomes found footage, eliciting natural performances from the actress and, in some cases, people who didn't even know they're being filmed. The movie's transition into a softer, romantic plot is reflected in the lighting and intimate shot composition. That's practically 3 different films in one, and none feels out of place or disturbs the, well, disturbing tone. Under the Skin is a surreal, terrifying experience, largely due to director Jonathan Glazer's decisions. I know Midsommar is divisive, with criticisms focused on its plot, runtime, and lack of meaty scares, but there's no denying that there is talent on display. The production design is inspired, landing somewhere between pleasant and perverse, and Florence Pugh is fantastic. The biggest snub undoubtedly goes to the music. Bobby Krulak created a spectacular score that often doesn't resemble horror. The contest scene is as good as it could possibly be, as the instruments escalate in intensity and start to interweave along with the visuals, and the climax track Fire Temple is just phenomenal. I'll be mentioning horror music a few times today because it in particular is neglected way too often. Think of any horror film that deeply affected you, and there's a good chance that music played a big part in that. So Academy voters, leave your bias at the door and listen to this terrifying, beautiful triumph of a score, and tell me it's not as worthy as some of the other nominees that year. Next up is we need to talk about Kevin. First off, this is a stellar film. Everyone should watch it. Tilda Swinton could easily earn a Best Actress nod. Ezra Miller, known to most as the Crimson Cringe, flawlessly pulls off this psychopathic character. Adapted screenplay should have been a shoo-in, but I'm gonna go all out and say this should have been nominated for Best Picture. The story concerns a woman who is convinced, with ample evidence, that her son both despises her and is deeply disturbed. It preys upon many fears mothers have, and does so with genuine artistry. Yep, that's a vague description, but there's so much purpose to the cinematography, so many uncomfortable truths ushered forth from the script, so much emotional resonance at play that I can't call it much less than art. There is a reason for everything. The color scheme, use of time, character posture, and mannerisms. On the surface level, it's a gorgeous looking, well edited, upsetting film that also features 3 actors playing the same character at different ages, and holy hell, they look like each other and do an amazing job. But on closer inspection, it's a deep exploration of family, guilt, psychosis, and resentment. I actually did a video about this movie and why it's the scariest film for mothers. It's probably my best video, so I would encourage anyone to check it out. We Need to Talk About Kevin is great in all the ways a film can be great, and frankly, why does it feel like Best Picture is only about the best half the time? The next snub rises past obvious to the adoy category. Yes, that's a real thing. And yes, the film I'm talking about is The Shining, which should have been nominated for Best Director. For those unaware, this film was not warmly received when it came out. Stephen King hated how much it deviated from his book, and many critics dismissed it as frivolous or even silly. Stanley Kubrick was nominated for a Razzie for Worst Director. True, there were higher standards for filmmaking decades ago when writing and directing were valued more than social themes and getting people through the day. Good times. But the exclusion is still bizarre from a directing standpoint. The use of Steadicam was innovative and captured the massive size of the hotel. It gave the whole film a foreboding, oppressive feel. Kubrick managed to get great performances from the entire cast, which, granted, was made easier due to the general chaos on set that included script rewrites, long hours, and good old-fashioned psychological torture.
Hunks of hair out on the windowsill, and the back got caught.
Need to trim those.
Hunks of hair.
Oh, look.
Okay.
They just cut to one.
Well, I don't sympathize with Shelley.
The slow camera movements and wide, symmetrical shots carry that sense of doom, that these characters are tiny creatures in a giant trap. It's one of the best creations of tone I've ever seen. And I know none of us need any more evidence of the man's genius, but you should still watch the behind-the-scenes footage of The Shining. The man had such firm control of his craft, it's kind of scary. Likely the least known on this list, May is a twisted, bloody tale of an insecure girl who becomes obsessed with body parts, spurred by her crush on a man with nice hands. I know that description was more loaded than the 21st birthday, but I don't want to get too much into the story because it's something you should not know much about before diving inside. All you need to know is that Angela Bettis does an incredible job portraying this damaged, vulnerable character. She does it so well that even as the character goes to darker places, we still empathize with her and her unseemly goals. As a horror fan, I hate the thought of blood and guts being seen as some instant black stain on a film. I hope that's not the case for most, because while gore can be exploitative and downright dumb, there's a scene in May that is so brutal in its violence and equally brutal in its emotion that it's downright shocking to watch. I felt it in a way more viscerally than I expected, and the actress made that happen. Next will be my last acting snub, and that is 2012's The Possession, which, while not a particularly memorable horror film, boasted an award-worthy performance from Natasha Colles, who should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She is unbelievable. As the title suggests, the character is possessed by a demonic relic, and while her dedication to the more ferocious sequences is admirable, it's the more subdued moments that got her a spot on this list. There's one exchange that stuck in my mind, where that evil incarnate is etched onto her face, but then tears roll from her eyes, implying that some part of her is fighting and losing. You feel really bad for her. It's the kind of child performance that blows away every adult performance nearby. Honestly, it's a little embarrassing in parts. Like, you just want to take some of them aside and go, I know you're a 40-year-old man, but I think she could do your job better, dude. With a sense of experience and subtlety you don't often see in this genre, Natasha Colles not only deserved a nomination, but some form of cult status. Number 3 is the 2018 remake of Suspiria. This is another one that was snubbed in a few places. The varied hypnotic original score that apparently wasn't as good as... Really? Or the melancholy yet catchy original song that lost out to... Really? But while Suspiria is a little long, its editing at times achieves genuine mastery. The slower dialogue scenes are smooth and aren't haphazardly chopped to pieces to squeeze in reaction shots like that ridiculous Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh my god, it's so bad. However, it's in the more frenetic sequences that Suspiria shines. There is a scene I can best describe as marionette torture, where every move from a dancer inflicts horrible pain on a victim. Sure, I can discuss it now in a normal tone of voice, but at the time, all I could do was sit, paralyzed with shock, letting out the occasional, "Jesus Christ!" It is sickening, but what kept me from looking away is the rhythm of the editing. It has a flow that is melodic even if the content is the film's horror highlight. And it makes sense, since this is a film about a dance school, and the dancing scenes, especially one toward the end, not only keep you in the ebb and flow of the music, but the way it's cut, when it speeds up and slows down, is intentionally creepy, even deranged, like something horrible is about to happen, and it usually does. Suspiria is a must-see for horror fans, but especially anyone interested in editing. But I suppose even great horror editing can't compete against the likes of... Really? Number 2 is a film I'm gonna get so much hate for, and I know this because I received a whole cornucopia of wonderful insults when I praised it in one of my horror videos. So many insults that revisiting the video is like shaking a tree and getting dozens more to fall on my head. But fuck it. Whether you like the film, erroneously think it's an anti-sex PSA, or just hate it in general, It Follows has a great original score. It's electronic based and strikes a nice balance between the more muddy tones of 80s synth and the cleaner processing of modern music production. This fits the story since it takes place in modern day but clearly serves as a homage to 80s cinema. I haven't seen synth used too often in horror, at least in the past decade, and the artist's Disaster piece not only created tracks that are engaging and memorable, but work for all the right moments. Panic, vulnerability, sweetness, anticipation, each of these tracks bring the scares and the necessary spaces between them. Did I mention the main theme is great? Because the main theme is great. Disaster piece also scored Under the Silver Lake, which I haven't seen, so please comment if you have, because based on this score alone, I want to check it out. And last up is a film that should have won Best Makeup. Try to guess. Here's a hint. It came out very shortly after the Best Makeup award was invented. Come on, pause the video, comment, and let's see if you're right. While you're gone, I'll just go on Twitter or something. Chris Pratt as Mario? What the shit? Why? Didn't they see Tomorrow War? The guy can't act. Why even make it a movie? It's two plumbers in a cartoon acid trip that's rated E for everyone. Good fucking luck with that. Where was I? Oh right, as you probably guessed, number 1 is of course John Carpenter's The Thing. Come on, this is a makeup showcase if I've ever seen one. The sheer creativity in the creature design is almost unparalleled, and by contrast only makes the bland, goopy remake look even lamer. This alien has rules in its function and weaknesses, but in its form is unrestrained insanity, and I love it. I don't know how much I can add, seriously. The makeup looks great in both action sequences and slower moments like the autopsy. There is confidence on display. The filmmakers know this is body horror greatness and flaunt it in a way that delights and disgusts us. The creatures are gross, threatening, and look real because, well, they are real. No CGI here, baby, and none is needed. The Thing's makeup is iconic for every reason imaginable, and more than deserved a nomination. And as an aside, I would highly recommend watching this with someone who never saw it. Glance at them as they may be confused or bored in the first 20 minutes, and then, during the first big creature scene, watch their eyes turn into dinner plates. It is so satisfying. So what horror films do you think were snubbed at the Oscars? I honestly can't wait to hear what people think. Check out my past and upcoming horror videos, and if you want to support the channel, throw me a subscribe. It means a lot. And as always, thanks for watching.